Hey there, everybody. What's up? It is the CBC Wisdom Hour, number 183 for Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. I'm Steve Witchell in New Orleans.
And I'm Tony B coming to you from New Jersey. What's happening?
Oh, there's so much happening, Tony.
Always a lot going on, Steve.
Yes.
Cover Band Central.
Yes.
Place where it's all happening.
Right. We do this live every week on Tuesday evenings at 10 or 8 o'clock Eastern PM time. But we also upload this as an audio podcast, so anybody that listens to the audio, we appreciate you coming back. But if you want to watch it live on video or on a replay on video, you can do that on the Cover Band Central Facebook page, in the Cover Band Central Facebook group, and on the Cover Band Central YouTube channel. There's a link in the description for the YouTube channel. Click on that link and hit subscribe so you can join in on the shenanigans and fun all the time when we go live. What else do I need to tell people, Tony? If you're coming in here live, come on in and say hello. Tell us where you're from. We will say hello back. We always like to know who's here and where you're watching from.
And Steve, how do they do that if they're watching on StreamYard? How do they get their name up so that?
Well, if they're watching in the Cover Band Central Facebook group, you'll need to click on the link that lets StreamYard show your name so we know who you are. Otherwise, you don't have to do that. Only in the group.
Okay.
Eric's here. What's up, buddy?
What's happening, Eric?
Says good evening, gentlemen.
To you too.
Eric is a bass player. Plays on Bourbon Street like I do. George is in Geneva, Illinois. He's got a nice Les Paul there, gold top.
He does not play on Bourbon Street, however.
No. He's got a nice guitar there, though.
He does. Nice guitar.
Also got to tell you that you can give stars during this broadcast. That is a digital gift to give to us. We do this all gratis, so if you want to throw a little love back, that's a way to do it. You buy a pack of stars, throw them our way. You could do that during the broadcast or during the replay. We do appreciate that. Anything that you want to throw in our way. And
it seems like when you give stars, the words have more meaning to you personally. So that's always a good thing.
They do. You'll internalize them more.
And you'll unlock some hidden attributes to them, which we can't talk about until you get stars. Then all will be revealed.
Right.
Sanford in the house. Yep.
Sanford's back from Texas. What's up, buddy? Jeffrey said, "This is my first time watching this, but I'm very excited about it." His name is Jeffrey and lives in Austin, Texas. Thanks, Jeffrey. Appreciate you. We're excited, too.
Yeah, we're always excited.
Eric said he wouldn't bring that gold top to Bourbon Street. I can see why he would say that. Because Bourbon Street can be unpredictable.
So what are you saying? Bring some crappy gear with you that you don't gets effed up, you mean?
But don't bring a $3,000 gold Les Paul.
Unless you have some bodyguards with you.
Right. Gloria's in Gilroy, California. And Nettie, is in Canada.
Yeah, what's up, Nettie?
Yes. So, the big news we announced last week, Tony, about the Hercules contest. We're giving away once a week a Hercules 2-in-1, and I had the box here and I put it over there. Now I can't reach it.
Well, it looks like this.
It's a Hercules 2-in-1 tablet phone holder for your mic stand. They are super sturdy, super versatile. They work great. I use it myself, and we're giving one away each week in October. And we gave one away yesterday, and you can enter this week at coverbandcentral.com/contest. Enter to win. There's a link in the description too, making it easy for you. Just click on that link and enter that way, and we will announce the winner on Monday next week at it's noon Central, so 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time is when we announce the winner. But check that out. It's free. Hercules Gear, the best company in the business making stands and things like that. We're giving something away for the rest of the year every week. So
every week.
Lots
of gifts coming your way.
So it's free. I mean, there's no reason to not enter this contest. You can get a free thing. The only reason would be if you live outside the United States. Unfortunately, it's only for U.S. residents. And if you already won, there's only one person who already won, so they can't enter again. But anybody else.
Or if you are affiliates of Cover Band Central.
Yes.
Hercules stands. Tony Bonner Incorporated. Steve Witchell LLC. Right. Non-eligible.
Right. In Austin, they have their own version of Bourbon Street. It's called 6th Street. I've been there. couple
between
times.
7th and 8th. I
Awesome.
mean, between 5th and 7th, I
I
assume.
think so. George said he gets grief with the gold tap from a lot of people for taking it out to the bars, but he only paid $300 for it in '86. Well, there you go. It's a workhorse. '70s
That's like my
deluxe.
brother's guitar, man. He paid $500 for a Gibson Les Paul and a Marshall Stack.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and then he sold the Marshall Stack for $500.
Edward said hi from New York. He spelled hi wrong,
Yeah,
but that's
no, he
okay.
didn't. I think I think he may be indicating something.
Oh, I see. It's a little bit of a double entendre, something. Michelle just simply said hello, Michelle.
The double entendre.
Jackie's in Bolivia, La Paz City. Nice.
Excellent.
Michelle is in the
There.
UK. Very cool. So yeah, the contest, guys, enter. It's free to enter, and you know you can't. You got to be in it to win it. That's
But
all I'm
Steve,
saying.
if I live out of the country, but I have family or friends that live in the country that are members of Cover Band Central, I could technically have them submit their name for me and then ship it overseas once you've procured the prize.
You could technically do that. Yes, we would have no way of knowing that you're doing that.
Correct.
So that's fine. Go right ahead and work the system.
Just get entries going, you know?
That's it.
Got to be in it to win it.
We said it at the top, Elizabeth, but she asked, where are y'all? I am in New Orleans, and Tony is in New
I'm in the Bat
Jersey. Where did you say?
The Bat Cave.
Bat Cave.
Sam's not the only one with a bat
That's
cave.
where Sanford is, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not the only one. We all got bat caves.
I
Secret
should-
entrances.
Yeah, I should leave our names up, too, just for people who are popping in, so they know how to address us.
Sup?
I like it. Greg said, what up, gentlemen? And you too as well. Greg en route to LA Kings game here. Kasaki, cool.
Yeah. Right.
Greetings from Estonia, Facebook user said, dear
Yes.
coverers.
I like that.
And Michelle, I'm sorry about your dog. She said her dog was put to sleep yesterday. That's the picture of her dog.
Yeah, Michelle. That's still to this day one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life was put my first dog down.
Yes, losing
And subsequent ones after that. It's always very, very hard.
losing a pet is devastating, and it stays with you.
Yeah.
So we feel you, Michelle. Our love and condolences go out to you for losing your puppy. All right, 14 years old. Okay, Irish is here. Says, "Hey guys."
Good run.
Yeah. So, what's going on in your world? Any new band things?
I played over the weekend
Nice.
with a sub bass player who did very good. Very, and let's talk about that for a minute, right? We always say, like, if you're going to sub for a band, make sure you come prepared.
Yes.
So we had one rehearsal with this guy. His name is Xavier, super talented bass player.
Okay.
He came prepared to rehearsal, knew all the songs, had a couple of questions about endings and segues, as we always do.
Sure.
And then we couldn't get to all the songs on the list, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll be ready. I'll go over them at home." And he did. We got to the gig, and it was great. He played great, and sounded just like it always sounds. And he did a great job. And he's actually subbing again with us on this week on Friday night.
Nice. So did he use any charts or any sort of notes for himself? No, he
Nope.
just learned it all, committed to memory.
That was it. No cheat sheets. I mean, he may have had cheat sheets like when he was learning it at home, because he said he made notes, but he didn't have anything on stage with him. He had no tablet up, no notebook out. His phone wasn't out. So yeah, committed to memory, Steve. That's what rhythm section guys do.
That's great. That's
You don't
fantastic.
see drummers with iPads up, do you?
Well, sometimes. Jamie said, welcome back. Welcome back, Jamie from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Jamie, what's up?
Elizabeth asked how long we've been playing. And, oops, I went to the wrong one. Here we go. How long we've been playing. I've been playing bass for almost 40 years. It'll be 40 years in February. Tony?
I've been playing with myself for over 54 years, but I've been playing drums for 50 almost,
Wow.
believe it or not.
So you got me by a decade.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But really, probably professionally, like closer to your like 40 years, because the first 10 years is like grammar school band and state band and county band and those sort of things, marching band. I wouldn't, but I was playing the covers, in my parents' basement when I was in like sixth, seventh grade.
Okay.
So that's got to count for something. You're probably 10 years old at that point. So yeah, north of 40. Got 40 years of all kinds of wisdom and mistakes and things to tell you what to do and what not to do, which
Right.
is how we started this whole chaotic show known as the Wisdom Hour.
Yes. What's up, Emma from Kansas?
Emma.
There's some flowers there.
And just
Some
think
nice-
what it's evolved into, Steve. It went from our simple conversation to now we're giving away stuff from Hercules.
I know.
And you have over 400,000 people in the group. I mean, this is huge.
500,000
500,000, sorry. 500,000 people.
on the
in
page. On the page.
All right, so we got to get
Page.
the
There's a group.
correct.
There's a whole thing.
500,000 on the page.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
500
So-
equals page.
So yes, combined, almost a century. Big time learning in those early years too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We have that should be one of our selling points. Combined, Tony and I have nearly a century of
Yeah. And
Of
they're like,
experience.
these guys must be super old and dated and they're not plugged in to what's going on in the scene. Oh, I can remember 1970 when I played that high school gig and we used to do it this way. No, it's not that type of show. It is
I hope
pretty-
you never talk like that, Tony.
No,
You know,
I will never talk like that. That's why I'm being facetious, saying like, that could be kind of misleading by saying that. They might expect to see like, old guys, like really old guys.
right.
Not
Well,
middle-aged old guys, but like super old guys,
right. Yeah, we're kind of old, but not super old.
No, definitely not old. I don't consider myself old.
I don't either. I don't feel it old, except my back sometimes. Otherwise, no.
I just
don't feel
refuse to dye my hair. That's why I look older than I am.
Right. Which is fine. It's very distinguished. You with your scotch and your gray hair and your
Yeah, playing drums, living the life, baby. Right? And those are the things you learn at a young age, Steve. You look at the instruments and you say, do I want to play trombone or do I want to play drums? I never had that choice because I grew up in a house of drummers. So drums was, I never played any other instrument except drums.
huh.
Not even recorder.
Really? You didn't play recorder in school?
Nope.
I did.
Went right to drums.
It did. I played. They called it a flutophone, but it was a recorder. It was the same thing. But second grade, I remember we would have flutophone practice. I don't remember how often. It was at least once a week, maybe a couple days a week. But it was second grade. That was a long time ago. But I remember, yeah, Saints Go Marching In, Three Blind Mice,
Hot
all that
Cross
stuff.
Buns.
I don't remember learning that one.
It's the same as Three Blind Mice, pretty much.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Very similar.
But the first instrument that I really wanted to play, Tony, can you guess what it is?
Drums.
No. First instrument I wanted to play was piano. I loved piano. And there was a piano in my kindergarten class. I remember this very vividly. And right in the classroom. And your kindergarten, you're in that same room all day. You're coloring, you're painting shit and whatever. You're
And then you jumped up and slid down the piano like Jerry Lee Lewis and started jamming out some tunes, and everyone was like,
No.
oh,
I was 5 in kindergarten, I believe. So
yeah, that's okay.
I wasn't quite there yet. But I did, I would tinker on it. And then I know I had heard Chopsticks somewhere. It was like on Sesame Street or something. I had heard it. So I figured it out by myself on piano. I just went over and I figured it out Chopsticks. Of course, Chopsticks is incredibly simple and stuff, but I was 5 and I figured it out by ear. So, I was always asking my parents as a kid, I'm like, can we get a piano? And it was always no, because we lived in a small apartment, until I was about 10. And then when we got to the house, we moved to Parsippany, and I think I had given up asking at that point. But yeah, piano. That's what I wanted to play. I still love playing piano. I'm not that great at it. But I tell you what, dude, and I haven't done this a lot, but I did play piano on stage this past weekend. Or a keyboard, anyway, but it was a piano song. And we have right now the band I'm playing in. For those of you who don't know, I play on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I play 3 days a week, days right now, at a place called Bourbon Bandstand, 2 o'clock to 6:15, and we had this week. We've normally been going bass, drums, guitar, and 2 singers. We did have a keyboard player, but he was exited, and we talked about it a few weeks ago.
Well, he was exiled, you mean?
He was exiled.
He was exiled from the band.
So we've been doing it without keyboards. But this guy who's a singer plays across the street in the night band across the street on the same days. Also plays guitar, also plays drums, also plays bass, and I guess he felt like he could play keyboards too. So I gave him a song list. He went over that stuff, and he played keyboards with us this past weekend.
And it was gig, and then went to his night gig.
And then went to his night gig, yeah, across the street. And he did a good job. He's not a killer keyboard player, but he did a good job. He learned the songs, and he could play, well enough, proficiently enough to get through the songs.
Well, and it sounds like he's proficient enough on a bunch of instruments. So that's a good talent to have. But Steve, do you think it's a better talent to have to be like pretty good at all those instruments, or to be like really good at just one, to be like a first call guy and be a master of your instrument?
I don't know. That's like based on certain people and certain situations. Like this guy is an excellent singer, and he's also a very good guitar player. He's kind of an overachiever, which isn't a bad thing in this case. He just loves music, and he sets himself. He's focused on whatever it is he wants to do, and he does it. He's in good shape. He goes to the gym a lot. He's like, he's a go-getter, this kind of guy. So for him, I think it's fine. But for certain people, yeah, if you're spreading yourself too thin, where you're not able to be like really good at anything, then that's not the way to go.
But I think too, at a young age, you see talent developing in children, and you have to capitalize on that. Like if someone has a natural affinity to be able to play an instrument, they should definitely be encouraged to pursue that. Because that's totally a gift, right? As opposed to having a great desire to want to play an instrument, but not having any natural ability to do that.
Right.
It's still possible to succeed, but you just need to put a lot more work into it.
Right. Good night, Elizabeth. You can watch if you're leaving us, you can watch the replay, the rest of it after we're done. Deborah's here. Thanks for stopping by again, Deborah.
She's too cool for the pool.
We are both very good. Jason said he wanted a piano as well, and grew older, but then drums and guitar.
Yeah. Yes, 5 in kindergarten.
Yes, it was good mathing, she said.
Yeah, I think it also depends when you were born too, because I'm pretty sure when I started kindergarten I was 4.
Yeah, I was born. I'm July, so I was kind of young. I was always younger than everybody a little bit, like by 4 months or 5 months, or so I kind of started young.
Start him young, Stevie.
Love back to you, Jenny. Thanks for the love. We appreciate you. So what happened was we got a request. We're using, and I should mention this every time, Tony, because this is, I hope, I don't know if you're in a situation where you can do this, but I hope any other band or musician that's in a situation where you can take tips or take requests, please use this. There's no reason not to. Juke.band. It's not really an app. It's just a thing on your phone. You set it up. You put in your song list, and then you put out QR codes in the venue. People can scan the QR code. They don't need to download an app. They don't need to download anything. They just scan the QR code, and up pops your song list, and they can tip the band and request a song. That way, I'm using it every time I play, and we're making a lot of money in tips using this thing. So I encourage everybody out there, juke.band, go there. I did put a link in the description for this too, and use it, and just let them know Cover Band Central sent you. That's all I ask. And
so when you use that, Steve, is it so you put like 200 songs up or whatever your repertoire is, right?
Yeah. Put your whole song list in.
Your whole list up.
Uh-huh.
Now you get to the gig, and in your case, you're going to play like 17 or 18 sets. So when you start the set list for the night, do you have a set list, and then as people are QR coding you and sending their requests in with money, you just have to? Is there a point in the night where like the whole set is all requests?
Yes, that does happen. But I don't use a set list. I just call songs, and I'm calling the show. I'm the one that calls the show, but I don't have a set list. But I do have a general idea of songs I'm going to pick and a general direction I'm going to go. But there does.
Do you have a reference list in front of you or somewhere?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Glance that so you know the master list.
Yeah, I have that all list. Like I have lists by singer. So we have 2 lead singers. So I have each one of their lists right in front of me. So I go back and forth. So I try to keep it fair. Try to keep it like, each one gets to sing equal amount. But I'm going to get to that too in a little bit. Yeah, there does generally come a point most days that we play where we're just doing requests, where they start to pile up in the queue, and it's like, okay, Jennifer's song is next, and then Mark wanted to hear this, and then and it makes my job so much easier as far as calling a show. And plus makes us a lot more money. It's just.
Have you ever gotten to a point where you couldn't get to everybody's requests?
Yes.
They piled up. Then what happens at that point? Does Jeff come up at the end of the night and say, "F you, man! I paid you $20. You didn't play my song."
No. People are more than willing to give us a tip either way. And I will always be honest with people on the mic, and if people request a song, because they could put in their own song that's not on the list, but I'll always be honest with them and say, we don't know this. Can we do a different song from that band, or you got a different choice? And I mean, every single time I've done that, they always say, don't worry about it. Keep the tip. So anyway, getting back to the piano thing, we got a request for Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. And this our new keyboard player didn't know it, but I know it on piano. But he can play bass. So we switched instruments.
But he knew it on bass.
Huh?
He knew it on bass, though.
He knew it on bass, but he didn't know the piano part. And I got a little funny story about this. But yeah, I went and played piano on that song. And I've never played that on stage, that song. And it's easy. I mean, it's Tommy Lee.
And you couldn't pull a Geddy Lee where you just played that part with your bass hanging on you, and then when it's "I'm on my way," you just
I could
your bass and start jamming out.
I could, but I thought it was more fun for us to switch instruments. That seemed like more fun.
Sure.
But I learned that song when it came out. I've always had like keyboards around the house, and I learned that. And I was a big Motley Crue fan. I learned that song, and shortly after that was out, I was in college and I was majoring in music, and I took a piano course, and I learned quite a bit. I know, right? And I learned quite a bit in that. But the college had these rooms with like isolation rooms with pianos, with real pianos, where you could go and like soundproof, close the door, mostly soundproof, close the door and go in. And I would always go in and do my practicing for whatever my assignment was. And I would always play Home Sweet Home because that was something that I had learned, and I loved playing it on piano. And I used to play it like every time I would go in there. And although it was kind of soundproof, I remember I was playing it one day, and I could hear people outside talking, and I heard somebody say, like, if that guy plays that song one more time, I'm going to...
So, of course, you were like, 3, 4,
right.
Come and get it, boys.
Right. So, anyway, I played it on stage this weekend.
Sweet Home, busted nose.
Right. But, so the topic I chose today, getting to that now.
Yeah, what do we got?
Which, I think you'll like it. Let me see some more other comments here. Deborah said, I love playing piano by ear as a child. However, I do devote more time into one particular instrument and the theory at present. Very good. Definitely learned some theory. We've never had a music theory conversation on this show, have we?
Theoretically, no.
We should do that at some point.
We should. That would be good to have.
Yes. By the way, just in case you missed it, you can enter the contest to win a Hercules 2-in-1 phone and tablet holder. It's free to enter, and you'll win, maybe. But you can't win if you don't enter. Go to coverbandcentral.com/contest and do that. All right. So
Topic for the evening.
topic is about competition. And there's a reason that I brought up this topic. But what I'm talking about here is competition versus creativity, and the mindset of each one of those, and how they can be produce different results. And so we have two singers that we use in the band. They're both guys, relatively same age. Maybe not. One is maybe quite a bit younger, actually, maybe about 10 years younger. And they have gotten along. You know, it's been a few weeks, maybe a month, that they've been working together in this band, and they've gotten along pretty well. You know, but one of the singers is clearly more ambitious than the other one, and the other one this weekend got upset because the ambitious guy was singing more songs, and we got a request from this guy, handed us $40 and said, can you play Hemorrhage by Fuel? And I was like, I feel confident I knew it. Jason, the drummer, knew it. The guitar player didn't know it, but our keyboard player, who plays guitar, said he could probably do it on guitar. And then the ambitious singer guy said, I don't know, but I'll try it. $40. So I'm on the mic too all the time, and I'm like, all right, this guy wants to hear, we've never done this song, we're going to try to figure it out, he's going to go play guitar, we're going to look up the lyrics, we're going to try to figure it out. So ambitious guy brought up the lyrics, and we got through the song 90% of it correct. I would say 95% of it correct, probably.
Okay.
Because I've played it before, I just haven't played it in a long time. And then that dude, that same guy who requested it, came up and handed us $100 bill.
As a thank you.
As a thank you for doing it and doing it well. So we made $140 for one song.
Yeah.
And so the attitude of this guy, this singer, it has been that, you know, and was especially evident this weekend.
Ambitious guy.
Yeah, it was especially evident this weekend with the same sort of circumstances, not for as much money, but of people coming up saying, hey, can you play this? And we're like, we don't know, but yeah, we'll try it for, $20, whatever. And the other guy, the other singer, was feeling threatened about it. You know, you could tell very clearly that he was sort of jealous and feeling threatened by this other guy, because he's not stepping up to the plate like the ambitious guy is. And so that got me to thinking about the whole competitive mindset. They each bring something unique to the table. They're different singers. They have a different range, and they're both, very different personalities. They're both guys, kind of relatively the same look about them. But they're each unique, and everybody is unique. And him having that sort of competitive mindset is detrimental to not only himself but to the entire band, and that was evident this weekend. So,
you guys are all splitting the tips equally, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so whether ambitious guy sings 10 songs and I sing one, or vice versa, right? The whole band is sharing in that $140 tip as a collective effort.
Right.
But what's interesting when you say is competition versus creative, I mean, I think it's more of a mindset where if you're in competition, I feel like there's always an element of fear there, right? Because why else would you be competing, right? Unless you had something to prove. It's different if it's a car racing, right? It's not who's more creative, right? It's who has the faster car. In horse racing, right? It's who's the faster horse. So in competitive things, I think you need to have a competitive mindset, and you think a lot differently when you're in competition. But to your point, when you're in creation, a competitive mindset will be a detriment to you, because I think a competitive mindset has some negative connotations to it in a team environment. It can be healthy to help push each other, But the instant that someone becomes intimidated by that or feels like, oh, I'm not pulling my weight, they're they got to get out of their own head, right, and get out of the competition, mindset. Or, like you said, they've checked out of being creative anymore because the focus now is, oh, I'm being outshined, or
Right.
I don't feel like I should have been singing that song. Well, maybe instead of being competitive, you use that opportunity to say, you know what, part of being creative is taking risks, right, and not being afraid of failing. That's why you said, like, hey, we don't know, but we'll try it. What do we got to lose? If we don't try it, here's your money back, right? Potentially, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. But hey, let's give it a shot. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, I think I don't know, but I'm willing to try it. That kind of attitude is always going to win out over uncertainty or, well, I don't know if we should do that, or depending on the situation. It's like, hey, we're going to jump off this cliff and grab onto that branch out there with no harness on. That might be something where you say, well, I don't know. Let me think about that.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't done that before. I could get really hurt.
I could die from that.
If
Yeah.
someone's saying, play a song, what's the worst thing that happens? Your ego gets a little bruised if you play a wrong note, or you fall down, or you can't get through it. You've already let the crowd know, hey, we don't do this song, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Right. And the thing is, when you do that, the crowd is you got the crowd entirely on your side. Entirely on your side. And they any like mistake you make, if you laugh it off on stage, they're going to laugh with you, not at you.
Right.
They're on your side. They're going to cheer you on because of that. Because of the fact that they see your warts and all.
But that's a great point, Steve, because like you said, if we said, hey, we play this song better than the band across the street does, then everyone's like, okay, let's see it, man. Show us. Like, prove it, But to your point exactly, when you have empathy with the crowd, you say, hey, listen, we're going to try our best for you guys, and we're in this together because we don't know the song, but we're going to try to do it because we owe it to you guys. But you said it's win-win, because even if it goes down in flames, everyone's still going to applaud you for trying.
Right.
But if you don't try, you might get booed.
Right. But yeah, like Deborah said, that you're human, and that's the thing that resonates with people, that humanity, because music is about humanity. It's about feeling. It's about love, ultimately. And when people feel that from you, they can't help but feel it too, and then send it back to you. It's a reciprocal thing. And so that guy, we did that. $140 we made for playing that song. Came back the next day early and said, and handed one of my singers another $100 bill and said, can you please do that song again when I come back? He gave us $100 and he left. Like, I'll be back later. When I come back, can you do that? And
I'm here on business. I'll be back next month. Make sure you remember me.
And we were like, sure. And he came back later, and then we did it. We did it again, and we did it better. Joe said you need to be louder. So can you be louder somehow?
Maybe I can bring my mic closer.
Or maybe
to my
I'm
mouth
just
like that, or maybe you just don't have me up loud enough.
Maybe I'm just too loud. No, I don't control your volume. I have no control over that.
No,
whatsoever.
I'm loud, man. I can't be much louder. I'll be distorting on my end.
All right.
But I will say, a point you made was it's about the experience, right? It's about not only the experience for the band, and I don't mean experience like, years of experience or wisdom. I'm saying experience like life experience, right? Like they're out in a club to have a good time, to experience Bourbon Street, interact with the band, and have fun, right? So that's what it's all about. So if you've delivered that experience, even if it's only 80%, it wasn't perfect, like you said, you're way better off. Competition eliminates that, right? It creates that me against you, right? It's not a team thing anymore. When you create, you're delivering an experience for people, right? And you're taking that risk for yourself to experience the joy that may be found in that as well. So that's what it's really all about, right? There shouldn't really be any competition. And again, you experience different sorts of dynamics on Bourbon Street than I would playing in my band, because I don't have, even with a substitute coming in, like there's no competition. Like he's going to take our regular guy's job,
right?
Or I hope he's good enough, just comes in. And it wasn't like, again, like you set the expectation, right? It's not like, oh, come here, I really hope you learn these songs because we've got a lot of important gigs coming up and we're counting on you.
Right.
Like, no one wants to hear that,
Right.
What they want to hear is like, dude, thanks for, taking on the gig and learning all these songs so you could help us out. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
You know, and like you're grateful for it. So already you're coming from a different perspective of, hey, welcome on the team. It doesn't, regardless if you're great or just good, we still appreciate the fact that you're helping us out for these next two gigs. Right? It's
right,
not like, oh, if you fall down on the first gig, you're not coming back on the second gig. It's not like an audition, where there's any type of pressure.
right,
And you can tell from a seasoned player like this guy is that he's going to come prepared and do a great job because he wants to have for his own integrity. Not like, let me show these guys what I can do, but
right.
just like, I want to do the best job that I can possibly do with my instrument, regardless of who I'm playing with.
Right.
You
And
know?
that's the correct mindset to have because that will open up doors for you. That when you're grateful and other people are grateful for you, then you can't be in a competitive mindset. You can't those two can't coexist. That gratitude and I need to be better than so and so.
Right.
Because like you said before, that's a fear-based mentality. That like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because there's always going to be somebody better than you. Always. You're never going to be there's no person that's the best. That's a subjective thing. Some people might say Eddie Van Halen's the best guitar player ever. That's their opinion, and you can't tell them that they're wrong because there's certainly enough evidence to back that up. But somebody else might like a different style of guitar playing than Eddie had. So somebody might say like Al DeMula is the best guitar player ever, jazz player, incredible talent.
And Eddie didn't walk around like, I'm the best. Check this out.
Right, right. He wasn't competing with anybody but himself.
Exactly. He just had the confidence to know that, hey, I'm very proficient at what I do, and I'm probably one of the top rated players on the planet. But, certainly I have more to learn, and certainly there's no ego there. He didn't, like I said, didn't present himself that way.
Right,
He was a humble guy who just was super talented and
right.
just wanted to play guitar.
Yeah, so if you find yourself, I mean, that's what we're trying to get to. Like, if you find yourself, pay attention to your thoughts and the way you approach being in a band, playing with other players. If you find yourself thinking that you're feeling like you're competing with other people or other bands, try to shift your perspective and shift your mindset into one of a creative one, because that's going to get you way further all around than trying to compete. And it's understandable because it's so ingrained in like social media, in popular culture with like competition shows like for musicians,
Yeah.
and just on social media in general. And don't get sucked into that. Try to look at the love for what you're doing and focus on that and what you can create from that. There's always going to be somebody better than you. I play on Bourbon Street, and there's a bunch of bass players that smoke me, but it doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter at all. I am me. I do what I do. I am unique to me. There's nobody else that plays exactly like me. So that alone is all you need.
Well, and the instant that you're in competition with someone, you've lost focus on what you should be concentrating on, right? So
Right.
you're already behind. It's already a detriment to yourself, right? Because you're so concerned with what that they're doing or that guy's doing or that band's doing that you're distracted from bringing your best. Because then you're not bringing your best from a creative, element or a place of creation. You're bringing it from well, watch this. Let me show you what I can do, right? So as soon as you're in that mindset, you're not creating anymore. You're regurgitating things that in an effort to impress somebody,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and needing that feedback too. Like you have to stop. You have to not need it. And I learned that a long time ago because I mean, honestly, early I did. When I was young, 19, 20, playing in bands, I needed to hear that feedback. I needed to hear I was good. I needed to know, my level of skill compared to others. But somewhere along the way, I just stopped that and I learned it doesn't matter. It's not important at all.
Well, and you also take it like when people say, "Oh, dude, you're so great," or like, "I really enjoy your playing. Like your band was really good, but you really stood out to me," or "I really enjoyed your playing," or "You played so well," and like, "I wish I could play like you." And it's great to hear that when you're, at any given point in your career, right? Just to bolster your confidence, when you're younger, especially to say, "Hey," after, a couple of dozen people have told you that, you start to get the feeling like, "Well, maybe I am really that good." But that's also the point where you have to say to yourself, yeah, I am that good in their opinion. To me, I still got I got 80% left to go. I'm only at 20% of my potential right now. So I appreciate that that person thinks that, my playing was great and that, it inspired them, but it's like you don't get an ego from it like, "Oh, of course I'm great." You look at it like saying like I'm glad that they appreciate that where I am on my steps of the journey, right? Because I
Right.
still have a longer way to go, and it's not like, come see me in 2 years and we'll see how great I am. But it's that constant evolution of knowing in your mind that you're always getting better, that you're always striving. This way, even if someone said, the band wasn't that great and you weren't that good either. It's like, hey man, sorry you didn't enjoy it. You know, but to a younger person, right, they might be devastated by that, but like, oh man, I should just give up playing. Like that's like the second or third person that told me that they don't like the band. Again, it's subjective. It's their opinion. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can't take it to heart and get discouraged. You just have to move on. Like I say, sorry you didn't enjoy it, man. We'll try. Don't come. Find a different band to see, or if you do come back, hopefully we do better for you next time. You
Yeah.
know, and some people you're just not going to please. Other people might give you honest feedback, like, hey, the band was great, but this, and this could use work.
Right. Which
That's also valuable sometimes. Not to be like, "F you, man. You're not even in a band. What do you know?"
it's valuable all the time because you take it in and
Yeah.
say, okay, this person is giving me a different perspective that I don't have. And what can I do with this information? How can I improve myself or the band or the situation? I mean, in some cases, you can't. Some people are over the top or they're wrong, and you could just be like, yeah, but just let it roll off, and
Yeah, but if your band's great and everyone's telling you how great your band is, you don't want to let it get to you and your band's head to be like, "Oh, all these people are telling us how great we are. We're great." Like you said,
you don't. Yes.
videotape yourself at a couple of gigs, watch it back, and be your own strongest, honest critic. Or have
Yeah.
other musicians that you respect come to your gig and let them give you honest feedback. How was
Right.
the sound? How was the mix? How did the vocals sound? How did this guy sound on this song? How was the volume of the guitar? How did that guy's lead sound? Was the bass loud enough? Did the pocket sound good? How were the
Right.
tempos? Like important things that you'd want feedback on, because the
Right.
average listener is just having a great time, and that's what they're there for, the experience. But if you get real musicians who can give you some critique, then that's more important than everyone telling you how great you are all the time. So it's two double-sided sword, right? It's good to get the
Yeah.
compliments and the accolades to build confidence, but at the same time, you need real constructive feedback. And if you're not getting it, like I said, videotape your band and watch it back, because what you think was a great performance, might have been a good performance or had great moments, but it may not have been as great as you thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're starting out, if you're younger. Because I remember, like, I played in a band called Exire. It was an original band. It was 87, 88. So I was just out of high school. And Neil Casal was the singer. Neil, if some of you know, played with Ryan Adams and Chris Robinson Brotherhood and Blackfoot. And he was, an extremely talented musician. And he passed away a few years ago. But we thought we were God's gifts, and we were young, so we had the ego and we had the chicks and everything, and we were rock stars. But then we would go back and watch the video, and I'd be like, oh,
Yeah, exactly.
oh,
But you want to know the good thing about that though? So you're looking at that going, ugh. But the people at the club, because back then no one had cell phones, no one was videotaping
right,
because they had a
right,
camera. So the people that left that gig were like, dude, XR was like the greatest band I've ever seen. They were awesome. Like they got the experience out of it. You know what I mean? So
right,
it's only now, like you said, you go back and look at the revealing footage that, you're going to look at it under a microscope, and of course you're going to find things. But that's what, then you bring that back in a constructive way, and that's what makes the band better.
right. But you can compete with yourself. That can be healthy as long as you don't beat yourself up. But like George said, you guys are right on. There's a point where competition becomes counterproductive, and And he said, if it's not driving you creatively or to become a better musician, it's no good. And that's correct. Like Tony made the point where sometimes you do need to compete. Let's say you're in a battle of the bands. Okay, that's a competition thing. 100%. So you want to go and be better, but you still don't. You're still just going to go out and be the best that you can be for who you are.
You don't go up to the other band at the beginning of the show and say, "Sorry, you guys didn't win." Before the contest.
Right.
Sorry, you guys came in second.
Like we're going to take you down.
Yeah, like sorry you came in second, but just get used to it when we're around.
Right.
Like you don't say things like that, right? Shake the guy's hand and wish him luck, and then, like you said, you let your music do the talking, right? You get up there, and if you're going to blow doors off people, you do it with your performance. You know?
Yeah.
You don't go around being a d-bag, like acting like you're great,
Right. Yeah.
It's good to have confidence and swagger, but don't be overconfident and cocky, right? And always be humble and supportive of your fellow musicians, right?
Always be humble. Realize that you are going to always keep learning. You're always going to keep better. Like you were talking about before, when people come up, like not needing somebody to tell you that you're good, but when people come up and compliment you, it's like, yeah, you handle it with grace and humility. And any time somebody does that for me, and it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, like on Bourbon Street, like it doesn't happen a lot where somebody comes up and says, "Hey, you're a great bass player," or whatever. But it happens occasionally. But when it does, I'm always so surprised because I'm like, to me, I'm just doing what I do. This is me. This is like I've been doing this for so long that it's just so natural to me, and I don't think about all the years of practicing that I had to go through, all the calluses I had to build up on my fingers, or like I don't think about any of that when I'm playing. This is me. This is what I do. I'm in this. I'm very comfortable in it. And when somebody sees it as that I'm good, then I'm always kind of a little surprised because I don't see it from their perspective. I see it from mine. But that's the best way to look at it. It's just like I'm being creative. I'm being myself. I'm being genuine and honest to who I am. And if somebody appreciates that, the only thing you can do is be grateful and humble, and that's it. And not think about like, well, I'm better than so-and-so, or I'm worse than... That's just as bad, too, by the way. It like saying like, oh, well, I'm not as good as so-and-so.
I'll never be that good, yeah.
Yeah, that's just as bad as saying I'm better than... But, either one.
That's the perspective, though, right? Like, how do I admire that guy. I'm inspired by that. I'm not intimidated by it, right? Like, how do I get some of his things? How do I steal some of his ideas? How do I get on board with that, And whenever, like you said, someone comes up and says, hey, I really enjoyed your playing. You always, like you said, you're gracious. Like, thank you, really, thanks for coming out. Really appreciate you supporting the band, and and thank you because I really enjoyed playing for you. I really enjoyed sharing my, talents with you, right? And not in a cocky way, right? When you're on stage and you're playing an instrument and you're doing your job, you have a talent, right? And you can't downplay that, but you shouldn't also hang your hat on it. Like, well, of course you like my playing because I'm talented,
Right.
You've been given a talent, but you've also, like you said, invested your time and dedication to develop that talent, right? It doesn't just happen, right? So you have to, that person, like you said, comes up and compliments you. They don't see the 10,000 hours that you put into honing your craft,
Right.
All the hours of practice that you put in on a pad when you weren't playing with the band, right? Not that you had to, but you did, and that made you better. And all the times you had to play, and for a drummer especially, and I mean, like you had said a couple weeks back when, like Rich Redmond sat in with you guys,
Yeah.
He played really hard, right? Because he plays in arenas, and that's the way he plays. But there's a lot to be said where, when I was on tour with Eye of the Storm, I played super hard, and we'd play in the clubs. The guys would always like, "Oh my God, dude, you guys you're so loud and you're playing the drums so hard." But it's like that's the only volume I play at because I play 100 gigs a year like that. And I'm like, that's what I do. Right. But then when you get into a cover band situation and you're in a club that can't support volume, right, or it's a small place, then you learn how to play with intensity and energy with dynamics, right? So how do you drive a song without bashing the hell out of the drums, right?
Right.
It can be done, but it's very, very challenging, right? To keep the energy and the push forward, but play restrained.
Right. That's probably more important for drummers than any other instrument because of
That's
the
the thing, because you could still turn your bass down and still
right,
dig in hard on the strings and play just like you've been playing. It just won't be as loud, you
right,
know? Drums, it's like you have to hit things quieter. You have to play softer, but you have to keep the intensity of an
right.
upbeat song, right? Like you're playing something like Working for the Weekend, right? Like it's got to be upbeat and it's got to be driving, Dirty Deeds, it's got to be driving, but sometimes you can't play at that volume, So that's uh a something that's developed over time, and by
Yeah, that
doing
comes with experience
yeah,
and just
totally.
playing in different venues and different bands and
Yeah.
different circumstances. And yeah. I mean, that's just something you learn on the job, really. I mean, somebody could
Right.
tell you that, but you're not going to really get it until you do it.
Yeah, until they tell you your band's too loud, you have to turn down. Well, what do you mean
Yeah,
turn down? But how am I going to play? Right? Well, you got to
right.
figure it out.
How do I turn my drums down? Where's the volume knob
Right,
on
right.
the
You like this,
drums?
you turn like this, turn this down a
Tell
little
your
bit.
drummer to stop hitting the snare so hard.
The cymbals are really loud.
But basically, like anytime, and that's happened to me. There was a post about it recently in the group too, about the band starts playing, and then the owner comes up and says, "You guys you
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
turn down, everybody." It almost always falls on the drummer because like
Yeah.
the drummer is setting really kind of volume for everybody.
And it's the cymbals that really drive that too. So you have to be careful with how you hit your cymbals and how you play certain things. But I will tell you this: sometimes when you're in the club and you can be sitting there and you can just go da 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 dun da dun da dun, and you're like, "Wow, that's really loud." You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right,
when you do that, as soon as the band starts playing and everyone's playing together, it's like you can't even hear the drums anymore.
right.
It's not always the drummer's fault, but when they do say turn down, yeah, you got to be conscious of how you're lowering your volume drum wise, because it's very easy to get carried away. Especially you might play the first couple of songs quiet, but then now you're loosened up and you're into the groove and things are flowing, and the next song comes, and before you know it, you're almost at max volume. You
Right.
know. But the cool
That's
thing I will say is,
no
yeah,
Facebook user.
I know.
No.
No, I've used drum shields in the past, and listen, it definitely cuts down on the transient, the ambient transients that come from the kit. Especially the cymbals and the hi hat and the snare. It definitely cuts down on that state, on that projection. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's definitely a big difference. When you're behind, excuse me, when you're behind that plexiglass, it's loud because
Right.
everything's coming back at you. So if you got in ears, it's not so bad. But if you're just playing through a monitor, it can be challenging.
I've had that experience so many times though, where and it's usually because there's nobody else in the room, and you start playing, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden the manager comes out, like, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, it's way too loud.
If there's a lot of people in the room, it says, but I deal with that. It's funny how you were saying about the drums, like it sounds really loud. I'm usually the first to show up at my gig on the weekend, and I like to get everything set up, like ready to go as soon as possible. And I love when I get to do it before anybody else arrives. Like I have everything plugged in, I'm tuned, I have everything set up, my mic set up, and then I'll do that and I'll turn on the amp and it'll be set at the volume that I had played the day before, and there's nobody in the room at all, and there's no TVs on, no noise, and I'll just play and I'll be like, oh, it's loud.
Yeah, right,
Like
exactly.
I was playing that loud,
Yeah,
and then I turn it down that when I do sound check, and then I always end up going turn it back up.
yeah. It's just
Like
but drums definitely drive that because, like
yeah,
you
yeah,
said, but when you do play quietly, your dynamic range, the headroom is so much greater. Like if you want to, at the end of a song, if you want to start quiet and then build it to like this huge roar,
right,
you got a whole bunch of runway. If you're
right,
already at 8, out of 10 on a volume scale, you don't have much room to really make that dramatic, volume increase. There's no, dynamics is the most important thing I feel for a drummer to be able to be a
oh yeah,
master of. You know what I mean? Because that dictates the whole vibe of the song. If you play at one volume all the time, it's going to sound that way. It's going to sound like a machine. And there's certain genres of music that call for that, right? There's certain gigs that you do want to do that. If you're in a metal band, I remember Vinnie Paul from Pantera. We met him one time, and he was saying, like, I don't have any finesse. I don't have any nuance. Like, I play at one volume. I play aggressive and I play hard.
hmm
You won't hear me playing quiet little, nuances and little things. He's like, power. all the time, all the way. Because, between Pantera and Hell Yeah, that's the type of music that calls for that style of drumming.
Right.
You got to drive all the time at maximum intensity.
Right. But like Doug said, volume appropriateness is where drummers like Liberty DeVito really shine.
Yeah.
No one plays to the song better than he does. Liberty's obviously awesome.
Total pro. But when you see him play live, he plays super hard.
Yeah.
But
you could still play. You could still play super hard and still use dynamics too. It's just it's kind of relative on that.
Yeah, but album wise, Liberty's great. On all those Billy songs, he plays with such great dynamics and finesse. No doubt.
Right. Yeah. So, what's the takeaway from all this, Tony?
Competition versus creativity. I think that a healthy dose of competition can boost you, but to be creative, you need to be open-minded, and you need to not worry about competing with other people. Compete with yourself, right? If you want to be the most creative person that you can be, compete with yourself, right? Worry about how much better you are tomorrow than you are today. And don't worry about the guy next to you who's maybe more gifted or been playing for 10 years longer than you, or maybe, like you said, just started playing, but it has a different attitude. That's his thing, man. We all bring something different,
Yeah.
Buddy Rich is not going to play in Metallica, and Lars is not going to play in a Buddy Rich big band, right? They each bring their own thing to their situation, right?
Right.
And they're not in competition with each other because they each do something completely different from one another, right?
Yeah.
So, you pick up a bass and I pick up a bass. If I could play bass, we're going to play completely different. Your personality is going to come through. Your style is going to come through. My personality is going to come through. It's just going to be different, and that's why we're all unique, like you said. And there really shouldn't be competition, right? And let's face it, you can always tell the musicians that are in competition. So that's the one thing I would say your takeaway is. You may say, oh, I'm not in competition with anybody, and I'm humble, and I know I'm good, but I don't pretend, I don't walk around and boast about it. But you can tell guys from their demeanor and their attitude and the way that they play on stage if they're in competition, if they're saying, look at me, or if they're being creative, right?
You certainly can.
And when you look at professionals, in any genre, they're typically not in competition with each other. Simon Phillips is not saying, hey, I hope, Neil sees what I'm playing. Because I know he's in Rush, and I'm not in Rush, but I can do things that he can't do.
Right.
That's great because you're Simon Phillips, right?
Right.
And he's Neil, and he's going to do his thing, and Terry Bozzio's going to do his thing, and Mike Portnoy's going to do his thing. And they're all great drummers, but they're all going to bring something different that the other guy can't do, you know?
And definitely be honest with yourself. Pay attention to yourself. Know when you're falling into that trap, and definitely don't beat yourself up either. Forgive yourself and notice it, but then let it go. That's like
no negative self-talk.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it. I hope
talk yourself up to yourself, right?
Yes.
Don't talk yourself down, because when you say things, those words then put other things into action in the unseen that will affect you, whether you believe it or not. If you say, "Oh, I'm just not a good player, and I never will be," you've just kind of set your stage for where you're heading.
Yeah, you get to decide. Don't forget about that.
Right.
All right. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys took something away from this that's valuable. We appreciate doing this every week, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. CoverBandCentral.com is where you can go and sign up for a profile for you, your band, or both. It's free. Go check that out. Join the contest. Win a Hercules tablet phone holder. CoverBandCentral.com/contest. The link is in the description. You could just click that link. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You got any questions, concerns, Steve at CoverBandCentral.com. You can always give stars to throw a little love back to us for what we do. But we enjoy doing this. We've been doing it for a long time now, and we enjoy having you guys here with us every
183
week.
hours.
Yes.
I see.
Yes, and you could check all those on the YouTube channel, or some of them, anyway. We'll be back next week, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us live. We really like when you're here live, and we can interact with you guys and tell us where you're from and all that. Enter the contest. We'll see you.
Central.